Welcome to the Entrepreneurial CEO Podcast, where we dive into the real stories behind building and scaling a business. Each episode, we sit down with CEOs, founders, and leaders to uncover hard-won lessons in leadership, systems, and team building. Listen in each week to learn directly from real business leaders who have been in your shoes, had success, made the mistakes, and all of the messiness that comes with building a business. If you're ready to learn from real-world leaders and gain insights you can apply today, you're in the right place. So let's get started. Hey, everyone. Welcome back. Angela, thanks so much for being here.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure.
Absolutely. Well, everybody, today's guest is Angela Hill, a seasoned entrepreneur and marketing leader who built and sold her own agency before joining Chief Outsiders. They're a national firm of fractional CMOs who help other growth-minded companies scale. Angela, I think, brings a unique perspective. She's been in the founder's shoes. She's made those tough calls. She's built business, and then also gone through the process of navigating the exit, right? And evaluating different options and ultimately understanding and determining what was best for her and her company. And I think a lot of us have aspirations for that. So I think it would be interesting to get Angela's perspective. And now a trusted advisor working with other CEOs and leaders as they grow. So Angela, thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
And maybe before I jump into questions, and I have many, just is there anything in addition that you'd like to add about yourself or about the company?
Sure. So I've been working in branding and marketing for over 30 years. I started my career working for big brands, big agencies in St. Louis, San Francisco, San Diego. I started my own branding agency in 2004, two kids under two at that time, and exited in 2023. I've been doing branding and marketing strategy for over 20 years, but I didn't start engaging as a fractional CMO until about, I don't know, maybe 7 years ago. And I joined Chief Outsiders in the fall of 2023 because I had gotten to a point in my career where I was always teaching and mentoring, which I do enjoy, but I wasn't growing and developing. And so what I
Hmm.
love about Chief Outsiders is that everyone else there has 20, 30, 40 years of experience, and it's impossible to know everything there is to know about marketing and branding. So when I get stuck or when I want to learn more, I can always reach out to one of my colleagues and they're happy to hop on a call and say, "Oh, yes, I have seen this situation before. Oh, here are watch outs that you can't Google or find online that they've lived through." And that lived through experience is just invaluable. And so that's how I
And
ended up where I am today. Wasn't part of some master plan. It was just stepping stones along the way to lead me to today.
that's awesome. And how big is Outsiders? How many different fractional executives?
It fluctuates, but it's usually somewhere between 120 and 140.
Okay.
Phew, sorry. Allergy.
Bless you. So let's maybe go back a step. Tell us about building your agency. And then I guess the second step, the decision to sell.
Sure. So, um, I spent probably the first 10 years of my career working for big brands, big agencies. In St. Louis, I worked on marketing campaigns for Mars Candy, Energizer, Ford, Anheuser-Busch, Hallmark, Williams Sonoma. And then I moved to San Francisco and I worked on campaigns for Visa, Sun Microsystems, Merrill Lynch, PG&E, Maersk. I moved to San Diego. I worked in campaigns. I did all the Intel product launches for a year and a half. I worked on
Wow.
Qualcomm, Pepsi, Sega, Jabra, uh, Foster Farms. And then I started my own firm. And I would say I am what you call a reluctant entrepreneur. I was
Okay.
never planning on having my own agency. That wasn't part of the master plan. I I always saw myself working somewhere else and working up the ranks. And the reason I started my own agency was I had a job where I was working for a really big agency working on really, really cool stuff that I loved. But when I started there, before my first day, I asked, "What are the working hours?" And they said, "Oh, it's 9 to 5." And I said, "Oh, ha, ha, ha. What are the real working hours?" And they said, "No, it's 9 to 5." And I said, "Okay, all right, let's see." And so first day I got to work, I got there at 8:45. The principal of the firm comes up to me. He says, "You're late." I said, "I was told to be here at 9 a.m." I pointed to the clock. "I'm early." He goes, "We start at 8 a.m." I said, "I will be here tomorrow on time before 8 a.m." So I went from 9 to 5 to 8 to 5. And then I would leave work around, I don't know, 5:30 or 6. And almost 100% of the employees were still there. So I said, "Okay,
Mm,
well, how late does everybody work?" "Oh, well, we stay until at least 7 or 8 because if you stay till 7, the agency buys you dinner. And, you don't have to stay, but it's really encouraged." Okay, fine. So I'm working 8 to 7, 8 to 8. And then I realize, oh, probably half or more of the team is still there at 7 or 8. So then I was working 8 a.m. to 10 p.m. Monday through Friday and sometimes on weekends. And I got to the point where I had 2 kids under 2, and I realized I cannot work 8 a.m. to 10 p.m. Monday through Friday and sometimes on weekends and also be the kind of parent that I want to be.
no, no, impossible.
And that is
Impossible.
why I started my agency. Not because I wanted to have my own firm, but because at that time, it was one of those things where you moved away, you gave your clients away because you couldn't take them with you because business just wasn't set up to function online and you couldn't exchange files like you had like SideQuest drives that you had to run to FedEx by 7 p.m. Like you couldn't exchange files easily. And so at that time, there was no other way I could have the work life balance and be the kind of mom that I wanted to be unless I started my own agency. And when I did, I decided for myself and for my employees that family came first. And if you needed to take time off to be with your sick kid at home or go to a parent teacher conference or volunteer in your kid's classroom or coach your kid's soccer team, then if you wanted to do that and, have flex time or make up your work another time, I was going to create an agency that had that kind of work life balance. And I started that in 2004. So work life balance didn't really exist back then.
Mm-mm. No, no. It was a lot of the grind culture. I think it's more prevalent now,
Oh, yeah, for sure.
you know?
I think what we have in a post COVID environment is a return to the grind culture because we no longer drive anywhere to go to a meeting. So we don't get
Mm.
the break in between meetings to reset our brains or be ready for a new conversation. We just hop and we jump from Zoom meeting to Zoom meeting to Zoom meeting.
It's very true. It's very true. And there's definitely no separation between office life and work life because it's all our home life rather because it's in your
Right.
home. So at least for
Yeah.
me, right?
Same.
It's just all blended. It's just 24 hours a day.
Yeah. Well, and it's tough.
You have to create those
Yeah. You
barriers.
have to set your own boundaries and then you have to enforce them, which is really
Mm.
hard. Like, for example, I have a client on the East Coast. Well, I can't exactly say that I'm not going to meet between 12 and 1 p.m. because that's 3 to 4 p.m. and I need to catch them while they're still there. So maybe I'm not eating lunch till later, or maybe I'm just having a quick snack. Or maybe I take 30 minutes and I take the dogs for a walk real quick just so I can look at something other than the four walls of my office for a few minutes.
It is hard. It is hard. There's many benefits to the work from home and post-COVID culture, but there are some drawbacks for sure. So I love that you look that 8 a.m. to I can't imagine that because I was we were just building a business when I had my first son. And then, 2 years later, my daughter was born. So I get it, but we were not, and we were similarly it always feels like you're working
Mm.
around the clock because you're, creating something. It's a
Yep.
startup. But we, as founders and entrepreneurs, had a little bit more balance than that. Like that 8 a.m. to 10 p.m. being in the office, if I was away, my wife would have killed me. Like
Right?
she would have been completely alone. That would be really hard. And then you're missing so much. So I can totally appreciate that you would want to get out of that and start your own agency. And I love that you created your own thing, instead of joining something else, started your own. So, okay. So that was back in
Correct.
2004. Is that right?
Yep.
Okay. And then you didn't sell until 2023. That's quite a long
Mhm.
time. Talk about that. Were you in growth mode for a long time? Were you cruising for a long time? Like, talk about that big gap before you ultimately decided to sell.
Yeah. So when I first started my business, we were focused on graphic design for print and branding and
Hmm.
marketing strategy because those were my three strengths and my passions. And at that time, the people that were building websites for companies were usually engineers and software developers and programmers. They weren't designers. And so what would happen is, we would design a logo or a brochure or catalog, trade show booth, print ads, packaging, you name it. And then we'd hand over the design files, not even web design files. We'd just hand over, like, here's the logo, here's PDF files of other things we made. And then the web developers would do a terrible job. And so I decided, okay, we're going to start offering website design and development so that we can have protection of the continuity of the brand in terms of what it looks like in print and online. And then we expanded to SEO and then PPC and then email marketing and then social media and then video. And, it just kept going on and on and on because the technology side of marketing was accelerating so rapidly that every
Hmm.
time something new came along, it was, I call it shiny object syndrome. Marketers or CEOs would say, "Oh, I went to a conference," or "Oh, I'm part of this business group," or "Oh, I talked to my business coach," or "Oh, I talked to my buddy who also has a company and they're doing this. So let's do this instead." And then all of a sudden all of this budget would get moved somewhere else. And so I
Hmm.
diversified our services in order to be able to continue to capture those contracts with those companies because I had employees, and that means I'm not just responsible for myself and my family, but also for them and their families. Um, and so, we evolved a lot. And it wasn't until about, I don't know, maybe 2017, 2018 that I started thinking about selling my business.
Mm.
And I engaged with a business broker for a year. And I probably had 60 conversations with potential
Wow.
acquirers.
That's a
Oh,
lot.
yeah. And what made me very sad was that after having had this business for so long, that it wasn't worth as much as I thought it would be because I was
Mm.
wearing too many hats and I was doing too many jobs in the business. So I was the person that was responsible for strategy. So that was a billable item that nobody else did. I was responsible for sales and business development, which meant I was going to networking events and having meetings with clients. No one else did that.
Yeah.
I was also responsible for working with the bookkeeper to make sure invoices go out or HR to make sure the payroll gets done. And the more hats that I wore in order to protect the profitability of the firm, in order to have the draw that I needed to pay my bills and also be able to reinvest, the less valuable my company was. Because in order to hire people to replace me, that took down the profit margins. And so, regardless of whether we were looking at the EBITDA or the seller's discretionary earnings, the multiple there just wasn't that high. And then the
Yeah.
other thing was, I think my mix of business was um maybe 50% project and 50% retainer. And so the higher value was on the recurring revenue, but I
Right.
didn't know that until I went to sell my business. I was just
Mm.
running my business in the way that I thought was
Mm.
best.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so after going through that exercise and realizing, okay, that's not going to work, then I was approached by another firm who wanted to merge with me. And then I would work with them, and my team would get hired by them, and we would be a division of that company. And so we went through the process of merging with another firm. And initially it was great, but then later, not so great. There were things that were sold to clients without my knowledge. There were
Mm.
non marketing people doing marketing work for clients. The billable work wasn't being shown to me in the financials so that they didn't have to pay me. So,
Yikes.
all kinds of stuff just didn't go well. And so I hired an attorney and I unmerged from that company. And then I hired a business coach to take me through the scaling up methodology.
Mhm.
And I identified two people in my organization that I thought were good potential successors to me. One of them, going through the process, turned out to be a very shady individual who was promising clients that they shouldn't, things they should never have promised, which ultimately led to extremely unprofitable projects that we saw through, but it didn't feel right. So we parted ways. And then the other person was someone who had been working with me for 10 years. So after about, I don't know, a year and a half of grooming her, we got to the point where I was trying to figure out, okay, do I sell to her, but then she takes out an SBA loan, but in order to do that, she would have to put her house up as collateral, and I didn't feel good about that. I didn't want her to take on that kind of risk. I looked at an ESOP that was going to be too expensive to implement. We weren't big enough for it to make sense. And so ultimately, what I proposed was helping her set up her own firm and transitioning the employees and the clients to her. At the last minute, she said she didn't want to do that. So then I was approached by another firm, someone I'd known for 20 years, who was going to take my book of business, but they didn't want the employees. So then I presented everything to the employees and they got really mad at me because they thought I was slighting the person that I had been grooming for a year and a half. And they yelled at me and they yelled at me and they yelled at me. And finally, I said, you know what? She's the one that said that she didn't want it. Uh, It's not me that's being the bad person here. I've just spent a year and a half grooming this person. I've invested in her. She says she's not comfortable. This isn't me taking it away from her. So then they basically had an intervention meeting with her and they said, "We want you. We will go with you. We will support you. Please keep this team together." So then she came back and said, "Okay, I'm going to do it." And then it took a few more months to kind of work out everything with the legal details and the unwinding of all the technology. And, because when you're in marketing, you probably have like 50 or 60 different things that you have logins and passwords to and information in different places. And finally, we were able to transition everything over successfully. But it was a very, very long road with many options explored.
Hi, if you're a CEO out there who's struggling with focus for your company, aligning your team, accountability, if you're struggling with execution, connecting the dots from where you're at to where you want to be, we've got a great program for you here at MAP. My name is Michael Cato. I'm the CEO. Most importantly, I was a client for 15 years, sold my company to a public company, and then bought MAP so that we can help other entrepreneurs with this specific problem. We're a 60-year-old company. We've worked with 170,000 individual executives and CEOs. We've worked with 15,000 organizations. This is what we do. Click the link below to learn a little bit more about how people just like you, CEOs, have transformed their business and ultimately transformed their life by running through the MAP system.
Yeah, that is a long journey. I mean, so over what time period was that?
5 years.
Wow. And so after the 5 years, then it was passed over to the
Yep,
new team. And that's when you joined Chief
correct.
Outsiders. Did you stay involved for a certain amount of time
Well,
or?
I'm not involved, but I'm available. So if stuff comes up like, "Hey," and it goes both ways, like, "Hey, I need a login and password for this," or, "Hey, I want to transfer this account, but they need your blessing because the account's in your name and they don't understand that we're now this other entity and that this account should, like a review site or like I don't know, there's just all the stuff that it takes a while to unwind and untangle.
Well, after 15, 20 years, yeah, there's all sorts of little things that
Yeah.
yeah,
So
things
I'm
come up
available to
for
them and
sure.
they're available to me. If I get stuck, I'll ask for something. And if they get stuck or they need something, I'll send it to them. And so we have a very amicable relationship. And if someone, I've had several past clients approach me directly, "Hey, I need blah, blah, blah." I don't do that anymore, but I'll connect them to the new team.
Got it. And so now as at Chief
Yep.
Outsiders, what's been the adjustment like moving from being in control, being the boss, being the owner to now not? How's that been going?
For the most part, it's good. I have to say, after being the boss for 20 years, it takes a little adjustment to not be the boss, right? So, as a CEO, as an entrepreneur, you go into a business, you see something that you think should be done differently. When it's your own team, you say, "Hey, go fix this or go do it differently."
Yeah.
And then they do it. But when you're not the boss, you say, "Hey, I noticed this thing that's broken or that I would do differently." And then the other people say, "Okay, thanks." You know, but it doesn't mean
Yeah.
they're going to
Thanks
do
for the
it
unsolicited
or that
feedback.
they agree
Yeah.
with
Yeah.
me, and so I'm like, "Oh,
Right.
I gotta let go a little," which is
Yeah.
hard, because anything I suggest comes from a place of caring. Not from a place of,
Hmm.
"Oh, I know everything and I'm better than everyone else." It's like, "Hey, I see this thing you're doing. I've been in this place before. I've solved that
Right.
problem this way. And the solution I had
Hmm.
would make your life less stressful, would make this process easier, would improve the client experience or whatever." And so I'll send it over and sometimes it's well received and sometimes it's like, "Okay, I got it. You could do your job, I'll do my job. And I'm like, oh, yeah, that's right. Okay. I'm not the boss anymore. I got to
Yeah.
let go. I got to step back. I got to stay in my lane. I got to do the thing that I'm
That's
supposed to
hard.
do. And it's an adjustment.
hmm That's pretty tough. I could see that being a challenge. What is the typical profile of some of the clients is there a typical profile of the clients you
Yeah,
work
I
with?
would say most of my clients are probably between 5 and 200 million in revenue. So they're not
Yeah.
startup, but they're not huge. Primarily,
Yeah.
they're,
Mid-market,
yeah,
small.
B2B businesses, could be professional services, could be medical device, manufacturing, biotech, um, fintech,
Okay.
software. Because I have my own agency, I really have done it all. Like I spent the
Yeah.
first 10 years in B2C and I spent the last 20 years in B2B. So my preference is
Mm.
B2B. That's the space I like, but I've also spent 15 years in nonprofit, but I like the B2B space.
Mm.
Like that's where I know I can have the biggest impact. I like building marketing automation and lead gen engines that are tied to the brand strategy, the marketing strategy, the unique selling proposition,
Yeah.
the ideal customer archetype. I do blue ocean strategy, so differentiating from the competition. I bring everything that I've learned over the decades into the work that I do, but it's always with the goal of generating profitable revenue for my clients. Because I come from an entrepreneur's perspective and I say, well, if I was
Right.
paying this bill, what would the result be? Like, what's my ideal outcome here? And what feels good? Like, I spent this money and I got this result. I feel good about that. That is a good use of my
Mm.
time and
Mhm.
money, not
Yeah.
just, I'm not an order taker because of my entrepreneurial background. I will push back and I will say, well, I know your goal is this for this month, but I'm also thinking about 1 year and 3 years from now and what we want the business to look like. And what are the things we need to put in place now in order to achieve that goal 3 years from now? Because I know what it looks like to run a business for decades, I think long term, not, and I'm very strategic in the way that I work as opposed to, well, what do we want to accomplish this month? Okay, then that's the marketing strategy and tactic that we take for this month.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I appreciate that. I think, you know, having that long-term view, but then also, depending on the size of the company, but, always having having a balance between the short-term goals and the
Totally.
long-term
But
goals,
not
right?
just one,
That's what we always.
right?
No, for
Because
sure,
so
for
many
sure.
people do
Yeah.
just one. Like they'll say, well, I'll give you a strategy for 1 and 3 years, and then I'm out. I don't do day to day. And some people go, oh, well, I'll do the day to
Yeah.
day, but I don't want to deal with the strategy. So I try to
Yeah.
bring both perspectives.
And are you predominantly working with, so 5 to 200 million? It sounds like all industries. Are these companies that are in growth mode? Is that why they're contacting you? They need help with setting the strategy to continue growth, or like what's the pain point and they come to you?
Yeah, funnily enough, a lot of the clients that come to me are pretty established. And so what
Mm.
happens is, which it's you grow and then you plateau and then you grow and then you plateau. So I'm always getting people at the plateau or slightly declining stage who
Okay.
say, "Okay, things are good. It's not like the company's in trouble. We're doing good. We're growing a little bit each year, but we want to go more, the 45
Yeah.
degree to
Yeah.
hockey stick angle." That's where they need
Yep.
someone like me to say, "Okay, where are we? Where do we want to go? Let's put together not only a strategy but also a system and a marketing and sales engine that's going to get you there."
Yeah. It's very similar to MAP. I think most of the time the companies that come to us, somewhere between 5 to 10 as the baseline, and then all the way up to like the 200, 250 million. But it's that, yeah, they're doing okay, right? They're 10 million or so, 15 million. They've got some revenue and some profit, but the acceleration
Hmm.
is not there. And I always say, like, it's not strategy. The strategy's fine. It's that there's fundamentals lacking in the business that they have not yet solved. Systems, accountability, delegation, team, structure, management, leadership. Like, it's just the blocking and tackling is not there. And so once you fix those things, kind of like you're fixing the marketing systems, that's when you can really unlock and get that next level of growth, taking you from 10 to 50 or 50 to 100 or
Yeah.
whatever it is. It's kind of a similar thing. It's how do you accelerate that?
Yeah. And there's definitely an operational component because if you don't have the right systems and processes to support the technology and the right people with the right training, it doesn't matter, you know? Y-
Totally.
Like you could,
Totally. Yeah.
I always say, like, if you are not headed in the right direction, it does not matter how fast you go, you will not get to your ideal destination.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I'm just gonna get to the wrong place
Exactly.
faster.
And waste more money doing it.
Right. Right. So when you're working with these companies, you've been an entrepreneur and leader too. What do you see as like issues with their systems, their process, how they're operating? Did anything strike you as a pattern?
Yeah, what's surprising is that a lot of companies are able through brute force and a strong sales team to get to a certain level, and then they
Mm,
say, well, we've really never done marketing, or we kind of do marketing, but they do what I call like checklist marketing, like, oh, I do a social media post a week and I do an email newsletter once a month, and I'm doing marketing. I was like, well, that's not really marketing. Like,
it's boring
yeah,
marketing.
I mean, you're putting stuff out there, but you're not doing it
Yeah.
because you are very clear about what you're trying to get back from it.
Mm,
And so it's just so fascinating because like these are good sized companies that they have gotten to a certain point that have been around for decades. And now they're a little bit stuck and they can't get to that next
yeah.
level unless they change something. And that's usually where I come in.
Got it. What's also interesting, the flip side to that is that, and my business partner used to say it all the time, momentum is powerful and businesses are hard to kill,
Huh?
right? Like once you're up
Yeah,
and you're aloft, so you're doing 5, 10, 15. Like you can keep doing that for a
totally.
long time. Doesn't mean you're growing, which sucks, but you can
Hmm.
keep going. And yeah, so it sounds like a lot of those clients, that's where they
Yeah,
are.
exactly.
Hmm. So when you were working with your company, how did you go about developing your people? It sounds like you were, working with the person that was going to succeed you, and you were sort of teaching them the ropes of
Mhm.
the business. But did you have systems in place for developing and yeah, improving your
I
people?
mean, performance appraisals, setting
Yeah,
goals, and professional development
yeah,
plans. And then the outcome might be maybe I sit down and do training with them on a regular basis in our one on one meetings, or maybe I send them to a trade show or conference to learn more, or sometimes I might pay for a class for them to take. Like, for example, I had this project manager who was phenomenal, but she really was struggling with her business writing. So I paid for her to take a class on business writing. And then she
hmm,
was freaking fantastic.
that's pretty cool.
So it's really,
Hmm.
individual based on what each person needs.
Yeah, but you have to be close enough and be communicating with your people to have that individual
Mm.
approach and strategy for each person, which I think not everybody does, but it's super important,
Yeah, I
you
mean,
know?
I used to just pull up a chair and say, "Okay, let's work on this. I see you're stuck. let's work on this project side by side and get you stuck.
Mm,
And then from there,
yeah.
either they would have learned enough to be able to solve that problem again in the future, or
Yeah.
I realized I need to do different training with them. One of the most valuable things that's not business related, but really helped me in business is that, and we were talking about our kids earlier, my both my sons, I coached their soccer teams. And I started off being a rec soccer coach. And then as my one son progressed, then I got my competitive soccer coaching license. And what I learned
Mm,
from that was this concept of what they call the soccer brain. And so when you are coaching your player, you can either be a joystick coach, which means every move or everything they do right or wrong, you're yelling at them from the sidelines because you're telling them exactly what to do and think in that moment. Or
mhm.
you can be the kind of coach that teaches the soccer brain, which is I'm going to teach you how to think when you're on the field, but you don't have to look to me when you're in that moment because I've given you the tools and the skills and the drills to be able to extrapolate and adapt in that particular situation to handle that conflict or that challenge. And so what I did from that was I took it back to my business and I said, okay, instead of being a joystick boss, I want to teach the marketing brain and teach my employees how to think and how to problem solve when they're in different situations so that if they come across a different situation or a different challenge and I'm not available because, I'm in a meeting or I'm on vacation or I have a sick day, that they're not stuck. They have the ability to get themselves unstuck because I've taught them how to think in that moment.
Hmm. I can appreciate that, and I like that framing. I've seen that with my kids'
Mm.
coaches, so and you see that you even see that with
Sure.
professional coaches. Some of them are on the sidelines jumping and yelling and barking orders, and others are
Um,
just
just because
standing
you've
there.
already taught them what
Be
they need to know and you've already prepared them during practice, this is their moment to be in that situation and to shine.
and in reality, the things that you're screaming from the sideline, they're
They
not
barely
capturing
hear
that
it.
when the adrenaline's going yeah, right? They're not even hearing you. So you're yelling for you,
Right.
not for them, you know? Yeah. Yeah. Or if if they could do what you want them to do,
Right,
they
if
would
they
already
knew
be
what to
doing
do,
it
they would do it.
probably. Yeah, yeah. Uh, that's awesome. All right, so one more question for you. Looking back at your journey of building the agency, selling the agency, do you have any again, I'm sure in our community, there's many entrepreneurs that have aspirations of
Mhm.
exiting at some point. Any words of wisdom or anything that maybe you liked about what you did, you wish you had done differently? What would you say?
I would say before you even think about listing your business for sale, talk to a colleague that has exited, and more than one, like
Mm,
4 or 5 of them, and ask them how it went for them and what they would have done differently. That's one thing. The second thing is look at your business and to the best of your ability, set it up to function without you so that if
yeah.
you could take a vacation for a month, your business would still be fine and not fall apart. And if you can do those 2 things, and of course also look at, what's going to get you the higher multiple for your particular industry
Yeah.
and how can you move your business in that direction, then you'll feel good about exiting because it's my baby, you know? And
Mhm.
and when you raise a kid, you do the best you can and then you set them on their own and you hope they're going to be okay. And I feel the same way about my business and my past employees and my past clients and the work that we did with them and the way they continue to be supported now, I feel good knowing that I set up systems and processes and ways of working that emphasize proactive communication and clear written and verbal communication and really focusing on that ideal outcome for the client. I feel good about having transitioned that and not being there, even though it was hard to let go. And sometimes it's bittersweet. Sometimes I'm sad because I miss having my own agency and
Yeah.
I miss having my team. But if you can do things to set them up for success, you will have a greater peace of mind after you exit because you know that you did your best to make sure that they will continue to be successful without you there.
Hmm. I think that's super important. You could always start another agency. You know, you
Maybe.
can
I
always
don't
jump
know.
back in.
I'm happy where I am right now.
Yeah, that's good. All right. Well, thank you for being here. We appreciate it. Before we jump, where can folks go to connect with you or learn more about Chief
You can
Outsiders?
always find me on LinkedIn. So, Angela Hill, you'll know it's me because it looks like me and it has stars in my name. In case there's other Angela Hills out there, I
Okay.
think there might be an MMA fighter named Angela Hill. So, if you Google me, that's not me. I don't fight MMA. I wish I was that
That's,
talented.
that's not
And
you.
then, if you want to learn more about Chief Outsiders, you can go to chiefoutsiders.com and you can even find my bio there and learn more about me there as well.
Awesome. All right. Well, thank you for sharing your time. We appreciate it. Congrats
Thank
on exiting the business. And thank you, everybody, for
thank
listening. We'll
you.
see you next
Have a
time.
great day.